Although it is not a superhero, the M113 is a true soldier. Since the day it was put into service, the vehicle has fought in almost all around the world and fulfilled all duties successfully. Although it was originally designed as an armored personnel carrier, the M113 also performed numerous other tasks. With its simple and effective design, it has existed wherever needed. As the weapon detective, we're investigating the M113, a true tracked armored vehicle legend. Please don't forget to subscribe to our channel before we start. What makes many systems legendary is generally that it is the first in its class. The M113 deserved this title with its achievements. The story of tracked armored personnel carriers goes back to older times. Tanks were first baptized with the fire at the Battle of the Somme in 1916. It was also seen that infantry support was essential for effective use of tanks in this battle. However, losing so many soldiers on the battlefields was considered normal according to the First World War doctrines. Therefore, the work on a vehicle that allowed the infantry to accompany the tank under armor protection progressed slowly. The Mark 9, which is the first tracked armored personnel carrier, couldn't be operational before 1918. In the same year, the First World War ended and military planners lost interest in armored personnel carriers. With the 1930s, interest in tanks began to rise in Europe again. In France, Germany, and the UK, important studies of the armored warfare doctrine began almost simultaneously. Although these efforts focused primarily on tanks, they soon developed to include armored personnel carriers. At that time, it was generally working on half-track design. They were considered as bearing the advantages of both wheeled and tracked vehicles. As you know, theory and practice usually never always meet. During the Second World War, it was understood that half-tracks also bore the disadvantages of wheeled and tracked vehicles. Mass production was prioritized during the war rather than developing a new concept vehicle. For this reason, it didn't occupy the agenda for the replacement of half-tracks. However, one person seriously pondered on this problem. General James Gavin, who was the commander of the US 82nd Airborne Division during the invasion of Normandy and the Battle of Bastogne, realized that a full-tracked armored personnel carrier, light enough to be transferred by air, was needed. In this respect, studies began in 1945 on a new system. The first examples, such as the M39, M59, and M75, designed according to the new concept, were used in the Korean War. Yet, these steel-hauled vehicles were heavier than 15 tons, and the US Army needed a lighter and smaller model that could be transported by the aircraft. For this reason, a program was started in 1956 to develop a lighter and cheaper vehicle to replace the M75. Two different prototypes, the T117 with a steel hull and the T113 with a ballistic aluminum hull, were developed. After the trials, the T113 was seen to better meet the criteria defined by the US Army, such as air transportability, amphibious capability, easy production, and low cost. Mass production of the new vehicle, now named M113, began in 1960. The success of the new system did not come from its advanced technology or billion-dollar budget, but from its simplicity. The M113 had a box-shaped armored hull which provides large usable volume. The vehicle was a platform suitable to be installed with different mission equipment or weapons, as well as carrying troops and supplies. This simple design also allowed the M113 to be easily modernized to adapt to the changing conditions. The first production models had the 250 horsepower Chrysler 75M V8 petrol engine. In 1963, the mass production of the M113A1 version was started. This model was equipped with a 215 horsepower diesel engine in order to increase its range and eliminate the risk of immediate deflagration and potential explosion in case of a hit. The first prototype of the M113A2 was produced in 1978. This variant has a more advanced engine cooling system and more powerful suspensions. Its internal volume was increased. The crew safety was also improved by the placement of the fuel tanks positioned out of the hull, which was previously located inside the hull. The M113A2 was so successful that many users of older models also upgraded their vehicles to this standard later. In 1987, the M113A3 version was introduced. This model had a 275 horsepower Detroit diesel 6V53T turbo diesel engine. Also, it was equipped with a Togo type armor on the front. The A2 version of the M113 has two crew members, including the commander and driver. It can also carry 11 infantries. The vehicle is approximately 4.9 meters long, 2.7 meters wide, and 2.5 meters high. Its combat weight is 11.25 tons. The 210 horsepower Detroit diesel 6V53N diesel engine provides a maximum speed of 60 km per hour. The road range of the M113A2 is 480 km. Although many users prefer different weapons on the vehicle, it is usually armed with 12.7mm M2 machine gun. Over the past 60 years, many different countries have modernized their M113s to their needs. Of course, we don't have enough time to talk about all these modernization programs. Still, if we mention a few of them, Brazil, for example, has equipped 600 units of its M113s with Mercedes-Benz OM 352A diesel engine. Around 1,000 Turkish M113s were equipped with 275 horsepower Detroit diesel 6V53T turbocharged diesel engines and Allison TX 100-1 fully automatic transmissions. Saudi Arabia's models, which are modernized by FNSS and called M113A4, have 350 horsepower diesel engines. The USA also developed many M113 derivatives for different missions. M106, M1064, and M125 mortar carriers, M163 self-propelled anti-aircraft gun, M48 air defense missile system, M577 command control vehicle, and M901 armored anti-tank missile carrier are the first ones that come to mind. Moreover, many countries have modified these vehicles according to their needs. The M113 is commonly equipped with anti-aircraft guns for air defense missions. Even Singapore and Turkey have also developed a model of the vehicle equipped with Igla and Stinger air defense missiles. Numerous local models have been developed, such as radar carrier, engineering vehicle, mortar carrier, armored ambulance, and anti-tank missile carrier. Many users have transformed their M113s into an armored infantry fighting vehicle by equipping it with a cannon. Some Chilean M113s were equipped with the GBDADA unmanned gun turrets with a 25mm KBAB gun. The turrets on these vehicles had been dismantled from the M113-based Lynx armored reconnaissance vehicles of Netherlands. The German company FFG equipped Danish M113 with a 25mm gun. This model, called PNMK M92 Wildcat, is now retired. The Philippines also equipped some 113s with a 25mm gun in 2014. The NM135, which is retired today, is an M113 derivative equipped by Norway with a 20mm gun. Switzerland has also integrated the turret of FPV-302s onto its M113 models, called Schützenpanzer 6373. The Singapore version M113A2 Ultra is fitted with a Togo-type additional armor at the front and an OWS-25 remote-control weapon station. M113 derivatives equipped with the same turret are also used by Israel. The most interesting derivative among all is the Aeroscator. This Italian-made vehicle's hull took the shape of a boat, and two water jets were placed onto the rear part of it. This way, the effectiveness of the vehicle in the fast-flowing rivers and in amphibious operations increased significantly. The Aeroscators retired by Italy are used by Indonesia today. In addition, many countries have developed their own unique vehicles based on the M113. Different from the M113, the Italian VCC-1 has sloped sights in the rear. There are also firing ports on the sides. Pakistan, which acquired the licensed production rights of M113 in 1989, later developed this vehicle-based Al-Talha. Similar with the VCC-1, the Taiwanese CM-21 also has sloped sights in the rear and firing ports. In the 1970s, even the USA developed an M113-based armored infantry fighting vehicle called the ACV. Even though M2 Bradley became the final choice of the US Army, the vehicle was preferred by many countries. Until today, M113 has been involved in many large and small battles. Due to the time limit of our video, we will talk about the main ones of these combat experiences. The vehicle gained its first combat experience in the Vietnam War. In 1962, the USA donated some M113s to South Vietnam. In this country, with its jungles as well as wet and soft soil, the M113 displayed better performance than heavier vehicles. Initially, the South Vietnamese Army used them in accordance with the concept of battle taxi. According to this concept, when contact with the enemy, the infantry had to fight by leaving the vehicle. Due to this tactic, sufficient communication couldn't be provided between the infantry outside the vehicle and the gunner of the vehicle. Therefore, the losses were high. Also, exposed gunner was highly affected by enemy fire. For example, during the 1963 Battle of the Appak, 14 M113 gunners lost their lives because of the lack of armor protection. As a solution, an armor was fitted in front of the gunner's position and armor plates were welded onto the sides or sandbags were placed. Also, two 7.62mm machine guns with armor plates on the front were placed on top of the infantry compartment. In order to increase protection against landmines, sandbags were put on the floor. These measures were very effective. So, the US troops have begun to implement similar modifications to their own M113s. And in the 1967 Battle of the Appak, a small number of M113s destroyed the 514th Viet Cong Battalion. One of the important users of M113 is Israel. Some Jordanian M113s were captured by Israel Defense Forces during the 1967 Six-Day War. It was quickly understood that these vehicles had a superior advantage over half-tracks used in armored personnel carrier in those years. Therefore, Israel ordered additional M113s from the USA in 1970 and used them extensively in the 1973 Yom Kippur War. Although superior to half-tracks, M113's ballistic protection has been found insufficient by Israel, which is more sensitive to human loss due to its small population. For this reason, the vehicle was continuously reinforced with additional armor packs in the future. However, this didn't achieve as much success as expected. So Israel soon turned to armored personnel carrier designs with tank hulls and started using M113s in second-line missions. Today, higher ballistic protection is needed in the modern battlefield. In addition, the demand for wheeled vehicles with mobility, similar to tracked ones, has also increased. In Western armies, these wheeled armored vehicles replaced M113s. Thanks to its simple and effective structure, more than 80,000 vehicles of M113 series were produced. The vehicle used in more than 30 countries. The armies in many parts of the world are not ready to give up on it yet. Many modernization programs are still in progress to keep this vehicle up to date. The legend of the M113, which has an important place in the perception of modern tracked armored vehicles, seems to continue to be with us for many years. Thanks for watching our video, and please don't forget to subscribe to our channel.